According to the National Council on Problem Gambling, around 60% of Americans have engaged in some form of gambling within the past year. Gambling has become a widespread mainstay throughout the United States, with legal gambling being available in every state except Hawaii and Utah. Despite gambling being an incredibly popular leisure activity, it can lead to a host of seriously harmful effects, most dangerous of which is an addiction that could eventually lead to financial ruin. The NPCG reports that each year about $14 billion are lost just from the effects of problem gamblers alone. People affected by this might lose their jobs, go bankrupt, or be burdened by fees they have no hope of repaying. Due to the potentially harmful effects of gambling, in the US, massive restrictions have been put in place to prevent abusive gambling behaviors. However, recently gambling has been able to attain a greater foothold in American society, unburdened by restrictive legislation. In particular, the rise of quote-unquote prediction markets, such as Polymarket or Kalshi, have been able to find a loophole in the system. I'm going to focus on the newest and fastest growing of these platforms, Kalshi. Kalshi is an app available in all 50 states as long as you have a phone. As mentioned previously, Kalshi calls itself a prediction market. Executives often compare it to a stock market. The app allows one to bet money on predicting the outcome of real-world events. Despite the technical specifications, Kalshi users are engaging in a form of gambling every time they use the app. Being able to wager money on the chance of something occurring or not is just a fancy way to dance around the word gambling. However, the top Kalshi executives need to avoid this label of gambling at all costs, since it allows them to bypass the typical legislative restrictions that would be put on gambling. Now, one might ask the question, even though Kalshi is a gambling platform, why should they care about it any more than the typical forms of gambling such as casinos or lottery tickets? That is where a key distinction between apps like Kalshi and regular gambling must be made. To help us better understand this distinction, we can use a model for media theory called technology as futurism. Technology as futurism in its basic form is the idea that the different technologies and media representations that people make are often symbolics of how their creators imagine the future. Therefore, by analyzing contemporary media, technology, and culture, one may be able to have a glimpse into what the future could potentially look like. Examples of this include the old World's Fairs, which used to display groundbreaking technologies that people thought could transform the lives of many. A piece of media that is a great example of the technology as futurism model is the video game Cyberpunk 2077, which recently had its 5th anniversary. Cyberpunk 2077 depicts a hyper-capitalistic dystopia where massive corporations control almost every aspect of society. This is just one rather somber interpretation of what a far-off future might look like. Kalshi, being a new mainstay in American media and culture, can be analyzed in a similar way. Unfortunately, apps like Kalshi may be bringing us a dystopic future faster than anyone could have imagined. Now that we have a better understanding of technology as futurism, let's get back to that distinction between Kalshi and ordinary gambling. What sets Kalshi apart is that it sets out to commodify every single person and all the events that occur between those people. The co-founder of Kalshi, Tariq Mansour, has even been on record stating that he wants Kalshi to monetize any difference in opinion. The reason this is problematic is that it opens the door for massive amounts of corruption and manipulation. Furthermore, it takes the focus away from the actual events that are occurring in the real world and focuses it on one thing: profit. Profit that is driven from the disagreements and suffering of real people. This is not a positive or uplifting vision of the future. The focus of futurism is being shifted from how the everyday person can benefit to how one can make as much money as possible. Kalshi allows users to bet on the level of starvation they believe Gaza will reach. Similarly, Kalshi's competitor, Polymarket, allows one to bet on geopolitical conflicts in the Ukraine territory. If people were able to put the time and money they spend on attempting to strike big from these tragic events, they might be able to actually help those people who are in dire need of it. I'll leave you with this. Is the future created by Kalshi really the one we want to create for ourselves? Is this the best future for humanity? Or is it the best future for a select few?